Have you ever, walked into a room, stopped, and just completely forgotten why you even went in there?
Oh, happens to the best of us.
Right. Or maybe you've tried to remember the name of someone you've known for years, a colleague or a neighbor, and it's just stuck. You know it.
Mm-hmm. That tip of the tongue feeling.
Exactly. And for ages, we've kind of brushed these things off as, senior moments, something for way later in life.
Right. Something you worry about in your 70s or 80s, maybe.
But here's the thing. The latest research, it's showing something pretty different. These cognitive shifts, they're not waiting around anymore.
No, they're not.
We're seeing them pop up in people in their 40s, even their 50s. And it's starting to affect daily life in ways we really didn't anticipate.
There's a real shift.
And the numbers, they're really making us sit up and take notice. Some studies are saying nearly 40% or 49% of people over 40 report memory concerns they notice themselves.
That's a huge number.
Mm.
Almost half.
It is. And even more striking, some markers, these biological signs of cognitive decline, they can start appearing as early as age 45.
That early, yes. Long before major symptoms might show up.
So this isn't just like a few isolated cases. It feels more like a fundamental change in how our brains are aging in the modern world.
That's a good way to put it. A fundamental shift.
So our mission today is to really dig into this, take a deep dive into what feels like a silent epidemic. We want to explore why it's happening earlier, what's actually going on, inside our heads.
Biochemically, structurally.
Yes. And crucially, uncover the evidence-based strategies. Things that actually work to not just prevent this, but maybe even enhance, maybe reverse some aspects of cognitive decline.
Absolutely. There's a lot we can do.
Okay, let's unpack this then. These changes, they often sneak up on you, don't they?
Very subtly at first.
Yeah, it's so easy to just blame it on being stressed out or tired. Oh, I didn't sleep well.
Common dismissals, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But there are specific patterns that go beyond just normal forgetfulness.
Like those tip-of-the-tongue moments we mentioned. You know the word, it's right there, but you just can't grasp it.
That's word-finding difficulty.
Yeah.
And when it starts happening more often, becomes really frustrating, that's a potential sign.
And then there's name recognition. Not just, forgetting someone you met once briefly, but genuinely struggling with names of colleagues, maybe neighbors, people you see fairly regularly.
Beyond the occasional lapse, yes, it becomes a consistent struggle.
And what about executive function? That sounds quite technical.
It refers to those higher-level skills, things like planning, decision-making, organizing tasks.
Right, so making decisions suddenly feels harder, or planning something simple, like a get-together, feels overwhelming.
Exactly. Or multitasking, which, let's face it, many of us juggle constantly.
Yeah.
That starts to feel impossible. You drop balls.
I can relate to that one. We also hear about attention and focus issues, like your mind wandering off constantly when you're trying to read a book.
Or finding it really hard to follow a conversation, especially if there's background noise, like in a restaurant or a meeting.
Yeah, filtering that out becomes difficult. And for some people, there are even spatial challenges.
Yes, things like feeling a bit lost in familiar places or
Yeah.
having trouble following directions you've used many times before. Even judging distances while driving can become harder for some.
Wow. So it's quite a range of subtle shifts.
It is. And what's particularly striking, as you mentioned these start earlier, is the awareness people have. Unlike later stage dementia, where insight can be lost.
Ah, so people know it's happening.
Often, yes. They're painfully aware of these difficulties. And this awareness, ironically, can create this vicious cycle.
How so?
Well, you start worrying about forgetting things, right? Or making a mistake in a meeting. That anxiety itself actually makes your cognitive performance worse.
Oh, wow. So the worry makes the problem worse.
Precisely. And that frustration and anxiety can lead people to pull back. Maybe they avoid social events because they're worried about forgetting names.
Or they stop taking on challenging projects at work.
Exactly. They withdraw socially, mentally, and this lack of engagement, this withdrawal, unfortunately, seems to accelerate the cognitive decline. It sets up this really dangerous downward spiral.
That sounds, quite grim. So if that's the impact, the big question is why? Why is this happening so much earlier now? It feels like our brains are just under assault.
That's a fair description. We're facing a convergence of factors, a kind of perfect storm of modern life that previous generations didn't really deal with to the same extent.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Let's talk digital overwhelm first. I saw this stat. The average person processes something like 34 gigabytes of information a day.
Staggering, isn't it?
Yeah. Enough to crash an old laptop.
Yeah.
Is it just the sheer amount of information, or is it how we're engaging with it?
It's definitely how. It's the constant switching, the shallow processing. We're scrolling, scanning headlines, flicking between apps.
Never really focusing deeply.
Exactly. Our brains are being trained for breadth, not depth. Deep focus, memory consolidation. Those processes are getting shortchanged. We're essentially rewiring our attention circuits, leading to mental fatigue. Yeah, overworked neural pathways.
That makes total sense. And beyond the screens, we're swimming in chronic stress, aren't we?
A genuine epidemic.
You hear about cortisol, the stress hormone. How bad is it really for the brain?
Chronically high levels are essentially toxic. Cortisol damages brain cells, particularly in the hippocampus.
Well, memory center we talked about.
The very same.
Yeah.
And modern life, constant deadlines, money worries, family pressures, just the 247 news cycle of global uncertainty, it keeps that cortisol tap turned on for far too many people.
Okay, so digital overload, chronic stress. What else is in this perfect storm?
Sleep, or rather, the lack of it.
The sleep deprivation crisis.
Absolute. Quality sleep is when the brain does its housekeeping. It clears out metabolic waste, consolidates memories. It's critical maintenance time.
And we're just not getting enough.
The average adult gets, 1 to 2 hours less sleep per night compared to 50 years ago. That builds up. That sleep debt seriously impairs cognitive function day to day.
Wow. 1 to 2 hours less every night.
Adds up fast. And then there's nutrition. Despite having access to more food than ever, paradoxically, our diets are often lacking key brain nutrients.
How is that possible?
A lot of it is down to food processing, which strips away vital compounds. Plus, soil depletion means even fresh fruits and vegetables might not have the same nutrient density they once did.
So even if we think we're eating healthy,
We might still be missing critical building blocks for the brain. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, environmental factors are also playing a huge, often overlooked role.
like what?
Air pollution, for one. Those tiny particles, the fine particulate matter. Research shows they can actually cross the blood-brain barrier.
That protective shield.
Exactly. Once inside, they cause neuroinflammation, and that accelerates cognitive decline. People in cities are particularly exposed.
Okay, so the air we breathe.
And then there's chemical exposure. Think about everyday things. Household cleaners, personal care products, plastics. We're exposed to thousands of chemicals daily.
And these get into our system,
Many do, and some act as endocrine disruptors. They mess with our hormone systems
which affects the brain.
profoundly. Hormones and brain function are intimately linked. And related to that, there's growing concern, though the research is still emerging, about electromagnetic fields, EMFs from devices, and also constant blue light exposure from screens messing with our circadian rhythm,
On our internal body clock.
which is fundamental for brain health and that crucial sleep cycle. And we absolutely cannot talk about midlife cognitive changes without discussing hormones directly.
Right, because this is often hitting around the time of significant hormonal shifts.
Precisely. For women, perimenopause and menopause involve a significant drop in estrogen. Estrogen isn't just reproductive, it's highly neuroprotective.
So less estrogen can mean...
More memory issues, difficulty concentrating, that classic brain fog so many women report.
And what about men?
Men experience a more gradual decline in testosterone, sometimes called andropause. Lower testosterone is also linked to changes in cognitive function, mood, and overall mental clarity.
So it's hitting both men and women through these hormonal pathways.
Definitely a key piece of the puzzle for this earlier onset we're seeing.
Okay, so that's a challenging picture. Digital overload, stress, no sleep, nutrient gaps, environmental toxins, hormones. It feels a bit bleak.
It can sound that way.
But there's good news, right? You mentioned the brain's resilience.
Absolutely. Amidst all this, the concept of neuroplasticity stands out. Our brains can change, adapt, form new connections throughout our entire lives.
So that old idea that your brain stops changing at 25.
Completely outdated. Neuroplasticity continues. The difference is, as we get older, it doesn't happen as automatically. It requires more conscious, intentional effort.
Like working a muscle that needs specific exercise.
Exactly. You have to actively stimulate it.
Which raises an important question. What's actually going on at the cellular level? Why does it need more effort?
Well, several things start to shift. First, the connections between brain cells, the synapses. They can weaken, become less efficient at passing signals along. Think of it like a fuzzy radio signal instead of a clear one.
Got it. Less efficient communication.
Precisely. Second, the production of key neurotransmitters, those chemical messengers, starts to decline. We're talking about acetylcholine,
That's the memory one.
Crucial for memory formation and recall, also dopamine.
Motivation, focus.
Yes, and GABA, which helps with calm, clear thinking, reducing mental noise. When levels of these drop, cognitive processes slow down.
Okay, so weaker connections, fewer key chemicals. What else?
We also see more low-grade inflammation in the brain. Neuroinflammation. It's like static that interferes with optimal function.
And what causes that?
It can be fueled by many of the things we've discussed. Poor diet, chronic stress, lack of sleep, those environmental toxins.
All ties together.
It really does. And finally, that blood-brain barrier we mentioned. It can become leaky or more permeable with age and these lifestyle factors.
So things get in that shouldn't.
Harmful substances, inflammatory molecules, things that should be kept out can get into the brain environment, causing damage and disrupting function.
Okay, so weaker connections, fewer messengers, inflammation, leaky barrier. That paints a clearer picture of the challenge. But the critical question then is, can we actually do anything meaningful about all this?
Yes. That's the exciting part. The answer is a resounding yes. Research is really converging on what works, pointing toward a powerful reversal revolution, if you will.
A reversal revolution. I like the sound of that. Where do we start? Lifestyle interventions.
Definitely a cornerstone. Cognitive training, for instance. Specific mental exercises designed to target memory, attention, processing speed.
Like brain games on your phone?
Well, maybe. But it's important to know not all brain games are created equal. The most effective training involves complex, novel activities, things that really push you out of your comfort zone and challenge multiple cognitive areas at once.
Like learning a new language. Or maybe a musical instrument.
Exactly. Things that require sustained focus, learning new patterns, coordinating different skills, not just, say, simple matching games over and over.
Got it. Complex and novel. What else?
Physical exercise. Honestly, this might be the single most powerful thing you can do for your brain.
More powerful than brain training.
In many ways, yes, because the benefits are so broad. Exercise increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. Think of it like miracle grow for your brain cells.
Fertilizer for the brain.
Pretty much. It encourages growth, strengthens connections. Exercise also boosts blood flow to the brain, reduces inflammation, and can even help generate new neurons, particularly in the hippocampus.
Wow. Okay, exercise is key. What about things like meditation?
Meditation and mindfulness practices show real benefits too. Studies show regular practice can actually increase gray matter volume in brain areas crucial for memory and attention.
It physically changes the brain.
It appears so. It also helps calm down the default mode network. That's the network active when your mind is wandering, kind of ruminating or self-reflecting. It tends to be overactive in people with cognitive decline, and mindfulness helps regulate it.
Fascinating. Okay, so cognitive training, exercise, mindfulness. What about what we eat?
Absolutely critical. Nutritional strategies are paramount. The Mediterranean diet consistently comes out on top in research for brain protection.
Why is that one so good?
It's rich in things the brain loves. Omega-3 fatty acids from fish, antioxidants from fruits and vegetables, healthy fats from olive oil, anti-inflammatory compounds. It provides optimal fuel.
Makes sense. I've also heard about intermittent fasting for brain health.
Yes, that's gaining traction. Things like time-restricted eating, where you only eat within a certain window each day. It seems to trigger beneficial cellular processes.
Like what?
One is called autophagy. It's like cellular housekeeping, clearing out damaged proteins that can accumulate in the brain. It also seems to support neuroplasticity.
Interesting. And are there specific nutrients we should focus on?
Definitely. Omega-3s, especially DHA and EPA found in fish oil, are vital for brain cell structure and function. The B vitamins, particularly B12, B6, and folate, are crucial for energy production and neurotransmitter synthesis.
Okay, omega-3s, B vitamins.
Vitamin D is incredibly important, acts almost like a hormone in the brain. Magnesium is involved in hundreds of brain processes, and antioxidants, things like resveratrol found in grapes or curcumin from turmeric, help fight that damaging inflammation.
Quite a list. It underlines how important a nutrient-dense diet really is.
It does. And finally, circling back to sleep, it's just non-negotiable.
You really can't skimp on it.
You can't. During deep sleep, the brain activates its own cleaning system, the lymphatic system. It literally washes away toxic proteins like amyloid beta that build up when we're awake.
Wow, a brainwashing system.
Effectively, yes. So it's not just about the number of hours, though that's important. It's also the quality, the timing going to bed and waking up consistently that allows this system to work properly.
Quality, timing, consistency. Got it.
So we've covered lifestyle, nutrition, sleep. What about more advanced interventions, nootropics, for example?
Right, the science of nootropics, or cognitive enhancers, is a rapidly growing field. And while the term might sound a bit sci-fi,
Yeah, like limitless pills.
well, maybe not quite like the movies. But many effective nootropics are actually based on traditional herbs and nutrients that have been used for centuries.
Oh, really? Like what?
We have natural compounds with good research behind them. Things like Bacopa monnieri, often used in Ayurvedic medicine for memory. Lion's mane mushroom, which shows promise for stimulating nerve growth factor. Rhodiola rosea for stress resilience and focus. Ginkgo biloba for blood flow to the brain.
So nature-based options with some science. Are there synthetic ones too?
Yes, there are synthetic options like modafinil or the racetam family. These tend to have more targeted, sometimes more potent effects, but they often come with more potential side effects and really require careful consideration, usually with a knowledgeable practitioner.
Right, not something to just dabble in. Definitely not. And in this whole landscape, one of the newer approaches emerging, highlighted in our sources, is the idea of comprehensive multi-ingredient formulations. An example given is something called Cognicure Pro.
Cognicare Pro. What's the thinking behind that kind of product?
The idea is that cognitive decline isn't usually caused by just one single thing going wrong, right? We talked about inflammation, neurotransmitters, blood flow, cell energy.
All those different factors.
Exactly. So instead of taking just one single ingredient, these formulations aim to combine multiple research-backed compounds together, each targeting different pathways, working synergistically.
Okay, so hitting the problem from multiple angles at once.
That's the concept. For instance, a formula like the example Cognicare Pro might combine that Bacopa monnieri for memory with lion's mane for neurogenesis. That's the growth of new brain cells.
Okay, what else might be in there?
You might see phosphatidylserine, which is really important for healthy brain cell membranes, the communication hubs. Acetyl L-carnitine helps fuel the mitochondria, the energy factories inside brain cells.
Keeping the power on.
Precisely. Then maybe ginkgo biloba for blood flow, a B complex for those essential neurotransmitter cofactors, and something like alpha-GPC to support acetylcholine levels for memory and focus.
So it's like a toolkit in a capsule.
Kind of. The potential power lies in that synergy addressing multiple aspects of brain health simultaneously for more comprehensive support. The claim is that these ingredients are chosen based on peer-reviewed research and formulated to work well together.
That makes sense, addressing the complexity. So this all sounds incredibly promising: lifestyle changes, nutrition, maybe targeted supplements. But how does someone actually start? How do you create your own personal plan?
Great question. It really has to start with assessment, knowing your baseline.
Figuring out where you are right now.
Exactly. This could involve taking a reliable cognitive assessment. There are online options. Or you could see a professional to see if you have specific areas of weakness. Getting blood work done is also key.
To check for what?
Those nutrient deficiencies we talked about, B12, vitamin D, magnesium, also checking hormone levels, maybe even inflammatory markers.
And sleep, if you suspect problems there.
A sleep study could be really informative.
Mm-hmm.
And even doing a simple stress assessment to get an honest look at your current stress load. You can't fix what you don't measure.
Know thyself, or thy brain. Okay, so baseline assessment first. Then what?
Then it's about building an integrated approach. Success rarely comes from just doing one thing. Our sources really emphasize this multi-layered strategy.
Layers. Like a foundation and then adding things on top.
Exactly like that. Think of the foundation layer. This is non-negotiable. It's optimizing sleep, aiming for that solid 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep. Regular exercise, the goal is around 150 minutes of moderate activity per week, minimum. Consistent stress management practices, meditation, yoga, deep breathing, whatever works for you, and that nutrient-dense whole foods diet.
Okay, sleep, exercise, stress, diet. That's the base.
That's the bedrock. Then you build the enhancement layer on top of that. This is where targeted supplementation, perhaps like one of those multi-ingredient formulas, could come in. Consistent cognitive training that actually challenges you. Making an effort for active social engagement that's really important for brain health too.
Connecting with people.
Yes. And constantly seeking out novel learning experiences, keeping the brain curious and active.
So foundation first, then enhancements. Is it set it and forget it?
Definitely not. The third piece is ongoing monitoring and adjustment. Regularly reassess your cognitive function. Track how you feel. Are you noticing improvements in focus, memory, clarity? And be willing to tweak your protocol based on the results and how your needs might change over time. It's a dynamic process.
Right. It's personal and needs fine-tuning. What about timelines? People always want to know how long it takes to see results.
And it's important to set realistic expectations. Cognitive improvement isn't like flipping a switch, it's a gradual process.
So what might someone expect?
In the first couple of weeks, maybe weeks 1 to 2, you might notice some initial shifts in energy levels or mood. That often comes first.
Okay, subtle start.
Then, maybe by weeks 3 to 6, you could start experiencing better focus, a bit more mental clarity, things feel a little less foggy.
Getting sharper.
Then, moving into weeks 6 to 12, that's often when more noticeable improvements in memory recall and processing speed might emerge.
Okay, a couple of months in.
Looking further out, say 3 to 6 months of consistent effort, that's where you can potentially see significant improvements in overall cognitive function. And if you stick with it, 6 months and beyond, you're really investing in long-term brain protection and potentially continued enhancement. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Good perspective. 3 to 6 months for significant changes, long-term for protection. That feels achievable.
It is, with consistency. And looking even further ahead, the field itself is evolving so quickly.
What's on the horizon? What's the future looking like?
There's really exciting emerging research. Areas like highly personalized medicine, using your individual genetic profile to tailor interventions, advanced neuroplasticity training, maybe using virtual reality or neurofeedback, precision nutrition, going beyond general diets to pinpoint exact nutrients you need, and of course, ongoing discovery of novel therapeutic compounds targeting very specific mechanisms of brain aging.
Wow, so it's going to get even more targeted and personalized.
That's the direction, yes.
So wrapping this all together, what's the big takeaway here? It seems the most powerful shift is thinking about prevention, right?
Absolutely. That's perhaps the most exciting message. Rather than waiting for problems to become severe, we now understand that proactive steps taken in our 40s and 50s can genuinely prevent or significantly delay serious cognitive issues down the road.
It reminds me of, like, financial planning.
That's a perfect analogy.
The earlier you start investing, even small amounts consistently, the bigger the payoff later thanks to compounding.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Small, consistent investments in your brain health in middle age, better sleep, regular exercise, managing stress, eating well, maybe targeted support can have profound compound returns for your cognitive function in your 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond.
So the real shocking truth isn't just that memory loss is happening earlier.
No, the truly crucial part is that we now have the knowledge and increasingly the tools to do something effective about it.
Cognitive decline is not inevitable. That's the core message.
It really isn't. Not in the way we used to think.
We have these evidence-based strategies, the lifestyle changes, the nutritional approaches, potentially the targeted supplements. They can not only slow or prevent decline, but actually improve cognitive function, even starting in midlife.
The potential for enhancement is real.
But the key, as you've emphasized, is starting. Starting today, not putting it off.
Every day counts. Every healthy choice is an investment.
So that walk into a room where you forget why you're there, it doesn't have to be the beginning of the end. It can be a wake-up call.
A prompt to take proactive control.
Your brain in your later years really does depend on the choices you're making right now in your 40s and 50s. It's not about whether you can afford the time or effort to invest in your cognitive health.
The real question is, can you afford not to?
Exactly. With the right approach, grounded in science, your sharpest, most mentally agile, most creative years could genuinely still be ahead of you. Take control of your cognitive future. Start today. Your brain will absolutely thank you tomorrow.